In today's episode, we're going to be talking Hawks, how they went in 2022, and how we think they're going to go in 2023. With us today, we have Daz from Daz Talks Footy. How you doing, Daz?
Mate, I'm well, thank you. Good to be chatting with you too, and good to be talking about the year that's coming up rather than the year that was, which is obviously what we do around this time. But now that we're post-draft period and we can look ahead, I'm looking forward to this immensely.
Yeah, definitely. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, great. Looking forward to talking some Hawthorn, especially now that the fixture's out and we'll be playing you guys in round one. Looking forward to having some discussions about how this team will shape and compare to how to my sorry mob next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
how do you feel
with
about
2022?
Go for it.
You finished 13th.
Yeah, 2022. Oh, go for it, mate. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, you know, go for it. I just made just a comment that you finished 13th. 8 wins, 14 losses. Do you think it was a fair representation of where your list is at?
Yeah, I do. I had to watch every game in full, regardless of result, due to doing the star ratings on Talking Hawks. So I struggle to see a lot of fans that would have watched more Hawthorn footy than I last year. I think it was a fair representation. I think every Hawthorn fan that is a bit of a realist at the moment knows where we're at, but I look at the percentage, maybe more than the wins losses there, to see that our percentage was 90 and we finished off the year really well. Yes, it might have cost us a top 5 pick, but they're no guarantee anyway. So I'm looking forward to what Sam Mitchell is doing in his second season as the official coach, and kind of the first time he's had probably full control over what happens throughout the entirety of the off-season. And so I think 2023 is probably the most exciting year that the Hawks probably aren't going to be contending, that we can still look forward to. So I think we're in decent shape.
Nice. Yeah, I guess from an outsider's perspective, all you see is the wins and losses, whereas being a fan, you can kind of see, well, we're a lot better than previous years, or we're building to something that's going to be successful, right?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think you're never going to make the fans that hate you as a footy club happy. And there's no mistake that Hawthorn does bring a certain amount of ire amongst fans for many reasons. There is success envy, and hey, I've got it for Richmond at the moment, being the last dynasty, and my missus is Richmond as well. So that's twofold. I completely understand that. I also know there's things like the political change that's happening at Hawthorn. We know about the racism probe that's going on right now. So Hawthorn aren't everyone's best friend at the moment. So I understand all that. But yeah, on field, the building is important. And I hope that Hawthorn fans out there are recognising that just because things are perhaps not at a place that it was throughout the mid-2010s, there is a very good chance that we could get back to something like that, because the man in charge is probably the biggest and brightest brain in footy at the moment, especially from a youth point of view, that being, of course, Sam Mitchell.
Nice.
Awesome. And do you agree? Do you think your win over Geelong was your best performance for the year? You've watched every game. What do you reckon was your best performance this year?
Yeah, I can understand where you've come from. It was one of the games of the year in terms of games that Hawthorn participated in, and one in terms of how well the Hawks played. Kind of hard for me to go past round 2 against Port. Everything just went right. We were no chance going in if you looked at the bookies, which I know is not a perfect way to surmise footy at the moment. But I think the Hawks, since Port and Adelaide had moved to Adelaide Oval, had only won twice, once against each club. It's something like that. I could be wrong, but I did read that. But from go to woe, Port didn't look like going with us the entire time. The ball movement was electric. We were pretty fit at that time. The injury bug hadn't hit us yet. But hey, when Mitch Lewis on Easter Monday strode into the goal square to kick the winner, it's probably the loudest I cheered all year. So I can understand where you're coming from with that one. I'll rate it.
Nice.
And you guys couldn't miss against Port. I think did you convert every single set shot in that game? I think you didn't miss a single shot that night.
Yeah, I think we kicked the first 11 or something. There definitely was a miss in there, but it might have been someone playing on sort of around the corner. So I don't know if that counts or not. But yeah, we were getting good shots and we were putting them through. But yeah, when I saw Connor McDonald, I think it was his first goal in senior footy, he threaded it from the pocket on the wrong side for a right footer, and I've just looked at my Mrs. Sam, and I've just gone, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're on here. And then yeah, just from then on, we just couldn't miss. It was extraordinary accuracy for sure. So yeah, look, it's 1 and 1A for sure, but you guys get a tick for that, I reckon.
Cheers, much appreciated, mate. Big J.
Cool. So you've had 3 people arrive at the Hawks this year. A couple of, at least one free agent talked about playing, Carl Amon. Another ruckman forward in Lloyd Meek, and then Cooper Stevens as well. How have you felt have these 3 rivals been welcomed? Are they players who you think will do really well and maybe play best 22 footy next year?
Yeah, I think Carl Amon out of the 3 is probably $1 to play in the round 1 side. It was interesting that he got the most votes for Port on the Brownlow. I know there's been a bit of controversy around the Brownlow this year for the headlining reasons, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Mitchell Sam, of course, does, because he wanted youth in the midfield last year, and Amon seemed to play his best footy as that outside mid. But I think roam the wing would be a good chance for Carl. He's a beautiful user inside 50. Set shot goal kicking could do some work. I think he's going at about 58% for his career, big Carl, but if he's got Mitch Lewis coming at him out of the square, I think he's going to hit a few blokes on the chest, and he's a link in the chain. So he'll start a chain. He loves his 1-2s, and anyone kicking the footy, of course, as you saw when Hawthorn were perhaps more successful, the better they look. So I think he's a good suit. Lloyd Meek, interesting one. I think he and Max Lynch will be fighting for obviously Ruck 2 behind Ned Reeves. They love the noodle down at Waverley. And Cooper Stevens, I was a huge rat coming out of the draft. Knew he was a Hawks boy, was kind of hoping we'd pick him up, but it's good to see the Cats have developed him before we've managed to snatch him up. But I think Amon and Meek will be playing definitely best 22 footy come maybe round 4. I'd probably have Meek ahead of Lynch right now just for his goal kicking ability, which I think you need as a second tall. Cooper Stevens is an interesting one because the Hawks midfield at the moment, it's almost got too many options but not enough A-graders, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And leaving your club, so Tom Mitchell headed off to the Pies, O'Meara to Freo, Gunston to the Lions, and then a few delistings. So Callow, Downey, Hardigan, Phillips, Liam Shields, who did a bit of a sneaky and has jumped ship with Clarko, and then Ben McAvoy as well. So looking at your delistings first, are there any players there who you think maybe were a bit hard done by? They should have had an extra year or so in the team, or are they pretty fair?
I think they're pretty fair without knowing a whole lot about how they might have developed. Connor Downey's probably the stiff one, given that his ankle, once he injured it the first time, it wasn't right again. He got a couple, I think he was emergency a couple of times, but he kept going down at the wrong time. So, he's probably a hard luck story. As soon as Jimmy Blank was doing all right in the second half of the year, I think Kyle Hardigan knew he was in trouble. I know Tom Phillips came out and said that he was pretty disappointed to be delisted, but if you look at what Sam Mitchell's wanted to do over the offseason, he needs blokes that can kick the footy, and that was the downer on Tom, which is unfortunate. And Jackson Callow, I mean, I know you've got to give big blokes a good run at it forward, but his Box Hill form was a bit inconsistent at times. So given the fact that next year's draft is pretty going to be good for Hawthorn in terms of father-sons, we've got Will McCabe, Luke McCabe's boy, and we've also got, I think it's Nate Deere, Paul Deere's boy. They're both key position players. So I think that might be a bit of future planning by Sam Mitchell there. So I'm not too surprised by any of those 4.
Cool.
No problem. Are you worried that you've gone very young very quickly this off season? It really looked like you were just doing everything you can to really get super young. Especially in that midfield now that you've got both O'Meara and Mitchell gone. Do you see yourself that it's going to be a tough year this year coming out of the centre square with the 6-6-6 rule?
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from, and I've kind of got to back up what Richie Vandenberg said during the offseason. The midfield wasn't good last year with the minute. And I mean, no disrespect. Hey, I've got, I don't know why this will be the last time I bring up the bookies, I promise, but I've got a little bit on Tom Mitchell winning the Brownlow this year. I think his role at Collingwood is going to be absolutely perfect for him. But we were 18th for contested possession. We were 17th for contested ball between the arcs. We were, I think, 15th for clearances. So it wasn't working with them there. And I know people are going to come and say, well, it's because they were played on a half forward flank or out of the square in O'Meara's case. But the young blokes have got to learn at some point, and I think it's just accelerated. So whilst I think, yeah, there are going to be games where the Hawks are going to get beaten up around the ball, I'm not expecting us to beat, say, a Melbourne or a Brisbane when it comes to contested ball and clearances. I think maybe a bit of pain out of the midfield will set us up. Clearly, the game plan's around speed of ball movement starting from our back half. So if we have to sacrifice a clearance here or there while some young guys continue to develop, I think the speed out of the back half is going to make up for it, and we'll build that way. So, yeah, I think the midfield's going to be bottom 6, bottom 4 again, probably. But I'm not 100% sure it's going to hurt us as much as it maybe did this year when you look at games against the likes of Sydney, Gold Coast, and a couple of others. So, yeah, I can see where everyone's coming from, but the midfield wasn't functioning with their minute. I thank them both for their incredible service over the time, especially with Tom with his Brownlow, and I wish them all the very best unless they play the Hawks.
No, fair enough.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly, actually.
And don't forget, we've got a bloke who's won a best and fairest who's rocking back into that midfield. Jimmy Warple is a player. I think we'll talk about him a bit later. He's a player that is dividing opinion amongst Hawks fans. But the last time Tom Mitchell was permanently, or in this case temporarily, out of the side, he won a best and fairest. I'm not saying he's going to do it this year, but we're not completely out of options in that department. And, of course, we've got Josh Ward, who's kind of being forgotten after a sensational finish to the year.
That's true.
Absolutely.
In the draft this year, so you guys picked up Cam McKenzie, Joshua Weddle, Harry Hurstwaite, Jack O'Sullivan, and Bailey McDonald in the national draft. There's a lot of, I guess, guys who play around the middle as well as Weddle. Do you feel like those players were the right choices for you guys? They fill the needs that you're missing out on this year?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and one that I've been asked a little bit throughout the various platforms. So watching the 2 days of the draft live, as soon as we traded up with Sydney for pick 18, I was messaging some friends and I was like, we've got Ed Allen. All right, didn't matter that Ben didn't play 100 for us. I think he played 98. We're going to get him anyway. And as soon as we got Weddle, I went, oh, that's interesting. We don't really need a key back. And then Hustwaite came in, another 190-centimetre player. Then Bailey McDonald came in, and I'm kind of going, okay, we've got some blokes that are quick. And then as soon as Sam Mitchell and Mark McKenzie said that it was the elite talent and we're going to mould them into what we want, he wants to play Weddle as an outside mid. Henry Hustwaite, he's not quick, but he's got so much time when he's got the footy. And I think Jack O'Sullivan's just got that bit of X factor about him, which has been missing from a Hawthorn forward line probably since a little bloke who wore number 33 retired. Not that I'm saying Jack needs to be that, but you need to be exciting in your forward half. And Bailey McDonald he'll get the footy and he'll just get and go. So I think he's going to be part of the resurgence of the wave almost of ball movement from D50 to forward 50. So now that we kind of know that as Hawthorn fans, as Sam Mitchell and Mark McKenzie told us, I think we couldn't have asked for a better draft, and probably an indication that some draft experts don't really know what they're talking about, including me, because I would have never predicted that we would have gotten Weddle, even if he was on the board at 27. So it's good to know that they know what they're doing, and it's good to know what the strategy was too. So I think Hustwaite at 37, it could just be one of the steals of the draft. I'll love him as a prospect.
He was my steal when he came up. Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, both of us, we lost our mind actually because we were streaming the draft, and it's just like, really, I can't believe that this guy, would slip so far down to pick 37. And then we started talking about, some people were saying that a lot of these draft experts that this year's draft wasn't as deep and wasn't as good as other years. But it's like, if if a guy like Henry Hustwaite slips to 37, then clearly it wasn't that bad, was it?
Yeah, exactly. He got past, I think it was St Kilda that took Ollie Houghton at 35, and I was again, messaging the guys once I'd gotten finished what I was doing on night 2 of the draft, and I was like, his NAB League final series wasn't this bad, guys. I don't know what's going on and how he's tumbling, but I was extremely happy to pick him up, and I'm not sure how quickly the bottom 4 guys there are going to play senior footy. I kind of expect Cam McKenzie to make an impact relatively early, but I'm not sure how many of these blokes will be all that relevant, maybe super coach wise. Not that that's what the discussion is, but as far as the draft class goes, I think we're going to have 2 to 3 ticks on that list, and probably too early to say who those ticks are.
Yeah, going back to what you were talking about speed. Going back to what you were talking about speed, like it feels a little bit. If you look at AFL players as they mature, they move around quite a lot on field. Someone might be drafted as a forward and picked up as a defender a few years later, that kind of thing. So it almost comes down to what's the player's attributes, what are they good at doing, and then molding them into a position. So like you're saying, I think the AFL in general is moving towards everyone being really quick and fast ball movement and stuff, and having, like you're saying, picking up 3 or 4 guys that are really fast, that definitely helps there.
And the Hawks were ahead of the curve anyway. James Sicily was drafted as a forward. Blake Hardwick won the TAC Cup goal kicking, and he's one of the best stop defenders, small defenders in the league. So the Hawks will figure it out. If there's going to be one team that are going to take blokes on talent and then mold them into what they need, I'll back us in to do it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of these guys. And I know he's there on the rookie screen, but Fergus Green, what a story that is, delisted by the Bulldogs and went to Box Hill and just he couldn't miss for a while there, and good to see him back on a list. And does he take the Gunston role? Who knows? But I think this has been a devilishly good off season, and whoever at Fox Sport gave us a D+, I just want to have a chat in a couple of years. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, because you guys, you're not looking to sneak into finals. You're looking to build dynasties. You're looking to build for the long term, and if it's short term pain for long term gain, well, that's been the history of the game for as long as it's been around, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think Geelong's the only team to never finish below 12th, and that's just one of the more insane stats in Aussie sport. I think they've just never done it. So if they're the anomaly, then everyone else has gone to the bottom, rebuilt from the ground up, and gone from there, and some have done it better than others. So hey, 7 years since winning a flag's not that bad, but there's going to be a year of the only people that will be probably upset at how the Hawks are going are either impatient fans or media looking for a story.
Yeah, definitely. And then Seamus Mitchell,
I think the second one is
as you mentioned, Green, and then Josh Bennett's as well. So was Mitchell a re-rookie, I believe?
Yes.
Or is he?
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so he was a top 30 pick in 2020, blessed with speed, and another one whose body's just sort of let him down a little. So I believe without having an ear to the ground that it is a last year chance for him. If his body can hold up and he can play consistent footy, even if it is at Box Hill, then I think he'll be good to go. But if we get to sort of June, July and the body's not holding up for him, it might be it, which might sound a bit harsh, but you got to be real about these things. You need to have at least, I think, 6 list changes per year. So we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed for him, because a couple of people in the know tell me he's a ripping kid. So fingers are crossed.
Yeah, probably helps his name sounds like Sam Mitchell. So
yeah, well, don't forget we not delisted. We traded Sam Mitchell to West Coast, Jordan Lewis to Melbourne, and then drafted Mitch Lewis the same year. So
yeah. That's too confusing for me.
And so we get to the predictions for 2023. We've got you winning between 4 and 8 games, which would put you in the bottom 4, 5 on the ladder. Do you think that's that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from the outside. I get without knowing the fixture. I'd love to know who we play twice. That's I know there's going to be a lot of people that say that, but we definitely know that we're playing, of course, Essendon round 1, Geelong Easter Monday, and it seems like whoever's going worse out of those two teams seem to win those games. So we might be in with a good chance there. But if we get a handy run in terms of who we play twice, then I could probably see us sneaking up towards that mark. I just can't see us losing half the games we won this year. I'm not sure if Mitchell and O'Meara were out of the equation, if it was last year, and we still managed to win, I think 8, then I can't see us going below 6, to be honest, fixture inclusive. So 4 to 8, I completely understand. I think if we win 9, it's an outrageous success. So that's fair. It's just, ladder position. I'll tell you right now, we ain't finishing last. Sam Mitchell ain't finishing last, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, to be honest.
It's an interesting discussion, that who does finish last next year, because you think to yourself, Clarko ain't finishing last. He didn't even do it at Hawthorn, and we were bad in 2005. Like, we were shocking, and he's never finished last.
Eagles?
He won't do it.
Yeah. So
Eagles, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, if their midfielders can stay fit by some miracle, who knows? But Harley Reid's going to be a good pick next year, so whoever finishes last, he'll go all right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of midfielders, you got John Newcomb. The sky's the limit with this guy. You really reckon this could be the year he becomes an A-grader, or maybe another year or two?
Yeah, excellent question. I don't think there's a time limit on when Jai becomes his peak. I mean, this is a guy that has only been in the AFL system for a year and a half. It feels like more watching him and the way he goes about it. He's obviously sacrificed his tackling game a little bit in terms of hunting the footy, which I am all for. And a ripping bloke too, Jai. The Talking Hawks sponsor group that I'm with do sponsor Jai, so I've been very fortunate to have a couple of conversations with him, and he's just a quiet bloke who loves his footy, so which is a recipe for success. An A-grader, I'm very harsh on who becomes an A-grader. I'm very stingent with my grading system, so I don't think he becomes an A-grader, but the Hawthorn midfield itself, I think, will grow. And I know you've got him at number 3 there, but I think Jimmy Warple's the guy that's got to be our number 1 midfielder next year for sure.
Okay. So no Gunston in the forward line next year. We've got Kosicki stepping up. I know he's kicked a few, 3 or 4 bags in games in previous years. Is he the one to step up, or will someone else kind of fill the spot?
Well, he needs to, Cozzy. It's no doubt him and Jimmy Warple are the only 2 Hawthorn players kind of in the gun in terms of outward fan criticism, and that doesn't resolve around the media as well, rightly or wrongly. Yeah, Cozzy's a bit of a tease, is Big J, and I think the tease comes from we've seen what he can do with consistent time at centre half forward, our second leading goal kicker in 2021, and then he came out this year. He had to play a bit of ruck, because Max Lynch had probably the unluckiest first season at a club. He got a bee sting. He got knocked out. He probably walked under a ladder and went across a black hat at some point too that we just didn't hear about. So he got played out of position. If Sam believes that he is our centre-half forward and he plays there for 22 games, I think he'll do enough to do his thing. He's a beautiful mover. He's deceptively quick for a big guy. I don't think he can be the third tall. I think that's up to Jai Sarong and Fergus Green to figure out. So if he's going to prove himself as a centre-half forward, it's going to be this year. I'll back him in to do so, because it's December. I'm not going to sit here and say anything derogatory towards the players of the club that I love, albeit that is not the popular opinion amongst a lot of sporting fans, not just footy at the moment. So I'm hoping he does. He's got the symbolic number. He's in a very, very good position, and he's shown some flashes in the past. I'll tell you what I do worry about. His goal kicking routine last year, he's got the Jared Roughhead lean back. So Hawthorn fans will remember when Ruff would take only a few steps, but Cossie's got the big long run up, which we love, but just on his last step, he's just leaning back and pushing the ball right. So I'm hoping that can get tidied up and he gives himself opportunities, but he's definitely a confidence guy. So 22 games, 10.5 forward, and I think 2023 could be his year, and we could see 40 from him. I think would be a massive plus, and hopefully Mitch Lewis is touching on 50. What a talent he is, a pick in the 70s.
Yeah, can't complain about that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We've spoken a bit about James Warple, but I guess you're thinking similar to us that he might be the one that has to stand up.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Chill midfield, Jimmy. What are you going to do with it, essentially? Because you think of a centre bounce and, you look at the Bombers, North, you guys go for. If there was a centre bounce, one clearance, you've got to win it. There's 30 seconds left. You're down by a point. You need the clearance. I think you guys, as barrackers of your clubs, would know who's in there. The Bombers, it's going to be Parrish. It's going to be Merritt. It's probably going to be Shield. I don't know how much joy that gives our man Joe up the top there, given there's a bit of sameness about them. But exactly, you've got Stringer that can roll through there. You got Jai Simpkin, Luke Davies, Uniac, Jason Horn. Oh, no, sorry. No, not Jason Horn. That's unfortunate for you, Jeremy. But but you guys have got your guys. So for the Hawks, it's definitely going to be Warple, Newcomb, and then is it Josh Ward? Is it Carl Amon? So if the Hawthorn midfield is going to start developing, it's going to be on the back of the 2019 Peter Crimmins medalist, that being Jimmy Warple, and I'm backing him in until he proves otherwise.
Nice.
Got to be optimistic in December, don't you? It's nearly Christmas.
Yeah, you reckon he's super coach relevant for next year?
No, draft maybe. I'm in a deep draft league next year. I might take a punt on him then, but no, I've got maybe a few other guys that could slot in there nicely. I think he'll be a really awkward price.
Yeah. Right.
Although I did terrible at Supercoach last year, so don't listen to me about that.
All right, we'll do, mate. Not everyone can win it all the time. There's only one winner, but no, it's going to be a long road. I think you're definitely on the path to a rebuild. It's all about success. It's all about the premiers. If you're not first, you're last, basically, and you're going down the hard rebuild route. And I think as you've said repeatedly, you've got one of the best coaches in the league. I won't forget the way he decided to tag Langdon when you guys played against Melbourne. Absolute, master stroke. And you can see that there's something really building there at Hawthorn. Yeah, it's going to take some time. I can only hope that, we've got Scott now. So hopefully we can follow some sort of trajectory like that as well. But yeah, you should definitely be optimistic for the future. You've got a lot of great young talent on that list.
Yeah, we sure do, and it's I can't understand fans older, younger. I just can't understand how you can't be excited about the Hawks as a Hawks fan at the moment. We've got the spine's looking okay, and there's just no doubt on what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is get the ball out of our opponent's hands and go. Just go, gun. You've got CJ. Good luck catching him on a good day when he's fit. He's looking good. Will Day, over 190 centimeters again, needs to stay fit. If you're finding pessimism in a Hawthorn field world of optimism in December right now, it's I feel for you because I'm bloody pumped for 2023. I'm pumped for round one, and we'll be meeting your boys at the MCG. Joe, are you going to head along?
Yeah, definitely. We'll be there. Hopefully we have some nice weather as well. We're going to have very few wins this next year, so hopefully we can knock one up against your Bob.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. It's going to be exciting, and the Hawks. I'm pumped. I know. I don't think we play finals. I think 10 wins is the ceiling for the Hawks. But if I'm a bit like I said at the start, I'm keeping a bigger eye on our percentage and how we're running our games. I think if our fourth quarter point differential and our percentage, I think will tell me more than the wins will, and I expect 2024 will be the year we're back in the 8 and making opposition fans hate us even more for our on-field success, hopefully.
All right. Well,
big call.
Thanks for coming on, Daz. Been great talking Hawks with you. Where can the fans reach you if they haven't seen your stuff before?
Yeah, you can find me at Daz Talks Footy on YouTube, which is just 100% my stuff. I talk all things footy. It's not a Hawthorn channel, so anyone out there listening who is following the series along, which I highly recommend you do. You boys are doing a fantastic job at the moment. So, yeah, Daz Talks Footy on YouTube. There's something pretty cool coming out that you're a part of, Jeremy. You're going to be a part of, which I'm looking forward to in the middle of the month. So plenty of stuff coming in December, and you can find me on Twitter, getting more involved with footy Twitter at Reece Knight 8, all one word there, no spaces, no underlines, and all that. So, subscribe to the Centre Bounce, subscribe to the Daz Talks Footy. Let's get the footy family going, and hopefully we kick off the year 1-0, and Joe and I can still be mates afterwards. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, you worry about that, Daz. It'll be good. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure's mine. Thanks, boys.
Catch you next time. Bye.
See you guys.